And by now, you know what time it is. It's Monday night at 8:08, and I am your host, Andru Defeye, aka the Guerrilla Poet Laureate, aka the Hoodie God, aka Spitting Quarantino, aka I wear my sunglasses at night indoors because my eyes are as sensitive as my heart is, y'all. And, as always, we have the studio audience here at the ZFG HQ standing 6 feet apart and all masked up. So this is a COVID-19 live stream. We want to give a shout out to our partners who made this possible over at the Latino Center of Arts and Culture, as well as the Office of Arts and Culture here in Sacramento, California. And we got an amazing show for you tonight. We are going to talk to a nurse who survived coronavirus and has some really unique insights on this. So we're going to talk to her. We're going to talk about this increase that we got going on, y'all. Man, I've been so optimistic the last couple of shows. We're not doing so well, Sacramento. We're not doing so well. So I need everybody who can see this. I need you to tap that share button because we need to get this as wide as possible. We need to reach as many people as possible to let them know what is going on, because it's been cool in Sacramento. It's not so cool right now. You know what I'm saying? We seeing some increases happening, and we ain't even gotten to the Halloween numbers yet. You know what I mean? People don't know how to act. So, spread the word, let them know. And right now, like we always do at this time, we're going to start out with the Rona meth. This week, the 6-county Sacramento region has combined for more than 656 reported COVID-19 deaths, and on Thursday surpassed 40,000 lab-confirmed infections since the start of the pandemic. Sacramento County has recorded a total of 27,530 cases and 508 deaths in the past 8 months. Health officials reported 252 new cases on Friday, following 235 on Thursday, two of the highest daily totals since the summer. The county has now confirmed 46 deaths for October, a total still growing as officials confirm the cause of deaths. There are 90 patients hospitalized with coronavirus in Sacramento County as of Friday, down 4 from Thursday, according to state data. The number of ICU patients is 20, decreasing 1 since Thursday after being as low as 12 in late October. Sacramento County test positivity increased more than half a percentage point to 3.4%. Daily new cases rose from 8.6 out of every 100,000 last week to 12.4 out of every 100,000 this week. This moves us into the definitive purple tier territory. That is the highest tier. That's when everything shuts down. It's unclear what steps will be taken as far as shutting businesses and houses of worship down, but we are headed in that direction again. Over the last week, Sacramento County has averaged 192 new confirmed cases per day. Over the next year, that would translate to around 70,000 cases and an estimated 350,000 infections. 22.6% of the population, y'all. On average, each person in Sacramento County with COVID is infecting 1.11 other people. As such, the total number of active cases in Sacramento County is growing at an unsustainable rate. If this trend continues, the hospital system may become overloaded. Caution is warranted. Y'all, let me pull up. This is last week's numbers and then this week's numbers. You see that 12.4, that's the big one that we're looking at right now. That's what's going to launch us into this purple tier territory. And this is not even counting the week before or the week of Halloween yet. So next week, those numbers will come in. So I'm not seeing a trend downward next week. You know what I'm saying? Like this is this is probably not a good thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I'm getting a call right now. Zeus.
Yeah. Sorry, hold on. Ugh, just enjoying some.
Where have you been? I was looking for you.
Well, I was celebrating a non-secular Halloween out in Cabo San Lucas.
I was gonna ask you to be my special guest on the show tonight, because people really enjoyed your appearance last week.
I know. It was like the only reason they tuned in. For good old Zeus T. Fitzgerald, a.k.a. the Lightning God, a.k.a. the God of Rock and Roll, a.k.a. Puppet Guy. Yeah, okay, mine aren't as cool as yours, Andrew. I'm sorry.
I mean, we can work on it. We can work.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to launch into show business, which you clearly are.
I mean, look at me. I'm in a hotel. So fancy.
Yeah, so I went looking for you, and I haven't been able to find you the last few days. Like, what are you doing out in Cabo San Lucas?
It's Cabo San Lucas.
Cabo.
Get it right. I'd hate for you to be an appropriator. Oh, come on.
Sorry.
I know the language. I've been here for a whole week.
So what are you doing out there?
Oh, well, I met this really cute person on Tinder. And she told me, like, come on down, you know, and maybe we could have, like, a date. And so, yeah, that's what I did for Halloween. We went going door to door getting candy. And then we held hands. We kissed a little bit in the streets, a little bit of that Halloween magic.
Halloween romance. Okay.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
That was a really common thing out here in Sacramento as well. I was wondering if you had gone out for Halloween.
Oh, yeah, no. You see, the thing you have to understand about me, Andrew, is I'm very dumb. I do dumb things, like going out on Halloween. Do you hear me? I do a lot of dumb things.
I hope that they hear you. I really hope that they hear you.
See, and that's the thing, is like, I've got an excuse. Like, my brain is literally made of fluff. Human brains are made of, like, brain stuff. I don't mean to insult anybody watching. Like, I hope you had a good time if you go out, but, like, stop it.
Yeah. Like, I just feel like your Party City Halloween costume was not that good. You know what I mean? You didn't need to flex that hard.
They kicked me out because I didn't even have a mask. It's like, I'm trying to buy a mask. You know what I mean?
So what did you go as for Halloween?
Well, I went as Arrowhead distilled water.
Impressive.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's Arrowhead distilled. They're not sponsoring me. That's just my costume.
I see where this is going.
Yeah, they're not sponsoring. Did you see the wink? Yeah, there.
All right, Zeus. I got some news to get to, but maybe we'll bring you back. So Robin is coming on tonight as our special guest.
Yeah,
Yeah, I may bring you on, when Robin jumps on, and we can do a little three-way interview if you want to.
I can't wait. I've got all sorts of questions. Like who's Robin?
Okay.
Did I miss that part of the show?
We'll get there. We'll get there. Just
okay.
Come back for a little bit.
See you later.
All right. Y'all, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that puppet. So now we have covered the math. We have checked in with Zeus. Let's get to the Rona news of it all. So we've got some big news stories going on right now. Like I said, we are trending upwards right now. So this first story comes to us from Michael McGough from the Sac B. Shout out Michael McGough. We've been using a lot of his material on this show, so he's doing the work over there. So we want to show some love. 5.7 million Californians live where closures may return. A trend of increasing coronavirus activity across various parts of California since mid-October presents the possibility of widespread business closures or otherwise tightening restrictions as officials look to fend off another surge into winter. The California Department of Public Health, in a weekly update Wednesday, only formally moved 3 relatively small Northern California counties to different tiers within the state's reopening framework, which determines what types of businesses and activities are permitted and under which sets of restrictions they must operate. By the state released data noted 13 others, including all 4 of the immediate Sacramento region, did not meet the required metrics of their current tier levels for the survey week of October 18th to 24th. Just a handful of small communities are eligible to be promoted to a looser tier next week. That puts each of those 13 counties, Amador, Contra Costa, El Dorado, Modoc, Mono, Placer, Sacramento, San Diego, Santa Cruz, Siskiyou, Stanislaus, Trinity, and Yolo, at risk of demotion to a more restrictive stage. Barring a state-granted exemption through an adjudication process or a change to the tier system itself, any of the 13 that don't see their infection numbers improve back to their current tier's requirement for the survey week ending on Halloween will be moved down 1 tier next Tuesday. And here's what Sacramento looked like on Halloween, y'all. Let's load it up.
Hundreds converging for Halloween. Our cameras were rolling as revelers packed themselves into bars and clubs in Midtown Sacramento. The scene looking as if the pandemic never happened. Health officials have been warning people about being careful this weekend to prevent another outbreak.
CBS 13's Ryan Hill is in Midtown with what could be next.
This is some of the footage that our cameras captured last night. You can see some people either not wearing face masks or social distancing during the Halloween festivities. Some people we talked to say that this is a disappointing but predictable sight to see.
These types of masks you'd expect to see on Halloween. And during the pandemic, you'd expect to see people wearing protective face masks. But CBS 13 cameras saw plenty of people at local bars crammed in lines, being in bars without protective face masks and not exactly social distancing.
It's a little concerning to me.
After showing some of our footage to people in Midtown Sacramento, the take is that it's not something they'd like to see happening.
Unfortunately, I'm not surprised, but it is unfortunate to see. It's easily preventable. All you have to do is wear a mask.
I can imagine that people are still going out acting like it didn't happen. Just for one night and thinking that it won't affect anyone else, but obviously it does, and it'll probably show in the next couple weeks.
The California Department of Public Health issued warnings about what people should be doing on All Hallows Eve if they're going to gather earlier this month. Things like wearing protective face masking, cutting down on mixing between households, and social distancing were all on the list.
We have seen in previous holidays as well, not just Halloween, like during the Memorial Day, for instance, that the sense of social responsibility here, people are not taking as much social responsibility.
I wouldn't surprised to see that the numbers are going up again because of this, frankly. I hope not, but yeah, I'm concerned about that.
We reached out to the Sacramento Public Health Department about last night's situation. We haven't heard back from them at this time.
So that is what Sacramento was looking like on Halloween. Shout out to y'all for putting us into the purple tier territory again. Demotion from the red to the strictest purple tier is the harshest move. It means restaurants, gyms, shopping centers, places of worship, and a few other types of businesses and activities must shut down for indoor operations for a minimum of 3 weeks. 4 of those 13 counties combining for more than 5.7 million residents, Sacramento, Yolo, San Diego, and Stanislaus, are currently in the red tier, headed to the purple tier. With 10 counties totaling nearly 17 million residents already in purple, that means it's plausible that more than half of California's population could be living in the strictest possible status within the state's economic reopening system by next week. Sacramento County Public Health Chief Dr. Peter Bielenson was among local health officials to express concern, telling the Sacramento Bee this week that people should avoid gatherings and consider celebrating Thanksgiving virtually this year. So we got some tips coming up on how to celebrate Thanksgiving this year and how to do it safely with your folks. We do want to talk a little bit. I don't know if anybody was paying attention. There was this little thing that happened last week. It didn't really get a lot of coverage, you know. But there was this election that happened, and Joe Biden was announced the winner by a whole bunch of press outlets. And this man actually believes in science. You know, we're not going to get too political here, but he believes in science, y'all. And he said that one of his first acts is he's going to put together a coronavirus team. After he was declared the winner on Saturday, in his first speech as president-elect, Biden said one of his first actions will be to name members of a coronavirus task force that will guide his presidential transition on Monday. That's today, y'all. Coronavirus cases have been spiking around the country, and the death toll in the United States is over 237,000 since the outbreak began. Our work begins with getting COVID under control, Biden said in Wilmington, Delaware. We cannot repair the economy, restore our vitality, or relish life's most precious moments, hugging a grandchild, birthdays, weddings, graduations, all the moments that matter most to us until we get this virus under control. On Monday, I will name a group of leading scientists and experts as transition advisors. Hold on, he said scientists, y'all. I will name a group of leading scientists and experts as transition advisors to help take the Biden-Harris COVID plan and convert it into an action blueprint that starts on January 20th, 2021. He said, that plan will be built on a bedrock of science. It will be constructed out of compassion, empathy, and concern. The new task force will include 12 individuals, including public health experts and scientists, according to John Cooper, an advisor to the former vice president. Miami Rep. Donna Shalala, Donna Shalala, though? All right, Donna, who led the Department of Health and Human Services under President Bill Clinton, said she expects Murthy to be named to Biden's coronavirus task force. He's been one of the 3 co-chairs of Biden's healthcare policy group that has been meeting for some time, Shalala said. This one is a little more focused on COVID. She said Murthy, a Miami native who was a U.S. Surgeon General under Presidents Barack Obama and Donald Trump, is a knowledgeable voice on COVID and a well-respected among healthcare policy experts. So there's some good news for you about this administration. They believe in science, and Joe Biden is working on it right now. So as promised, you know, we tried to give you guys a bunch of advice on how to do Halloween right. So we're also trying to give you a little bit of help as far as Thanksgiving goes, because I know it's a time that we all want to see our families and get together with our people. So we're going to go over some Thanksgiving guidelines real quick. This is from Z Christic, Yahoo Life. And, you know, the thing is, Yahoo is national and international, and posted this article called California's Thanksgiving Guidelines may be the safest way to host family this year. So our state is leading in how to do this safely, as long as y'all listen and pay attention. Thanksgiving Guidelines. During the pandemic, California health officials have often led the way by creating guidelines that inspire how the other states respond to the spread of the novel coronavirus. And this Thanksgiving, new guidance on how Californians should gather at home could serve as a model for all Americans. Ahead of the holiday season, Governor Gavin Newsom and the California Department of Public Health released these guidelines. Keep invites to fewer than 3 households. That includes the guest's own family. The host's own family. Push for people to stay outside. Hold gatherings for less than 2 hours. I mean, for some of us, that's like a good thing, right? Like, you don't got to see the family the whole day. You just get like that 2-hour window, and then you got to be, I gotta get out. Masks should remain on for as long as possible, barring eating and drinking. People should refrain from singing and shouting, and everyone should maintain social distance if possible, even outside. Y'all, some Thanksgiving guests, just to reiterate once again, no more than 3 households. Consider the risk. Who are your people that are at risk? And where have folks been? Have folks been quarantined? If Uncle John has not been quarantining, if he's been talking about that it's a hoax, don't invite him. Don't invite him to think it's okay to skip out on his invite this year. You know what I mean? Keep things to 2 hours or less, and always, always, always consider your high-risk relatives. We want to make sure that the elders are well taken care of in all of this time. So, what are the risks? The risks at Thanksgiving that we need to be looking out for. Air supply and ventilation. Ideally, Thanksgiving is a fresco style meal this year. See, that just makes it more fancy. Some of y'all you're like, I'm eating fresco Thanksgiving. If you can't head outside, take note that your risk may increase while dining indoor spaces. COVID-19 primarily spreads via droplets and aerosols from infected individuals, so ventilation and airflow play a role in how risky hosting dinner can be. Also, pay attention to the amount of guests. While California's 3 household guest list suggestion is a start, risk can vary greatly depending on how large those families are, and transmission becomes likelier when you start adding more guests into a closed room. If guests are traveling via public transportation, risk also increases compared to if they are driving from local destinations. The length of the visit. Risk can increase with the amount of time one spends in close contact with someone who doesn't live in the same household. Are you simply having dinner, or will you be watching the game or the virtual Macy's parade too? This all impacts the likelihood that you'll become sick if one of your guests is COVID-19 positive without any symptoms or asymptomatic. The table setup. Buffets, shared utensils, and DIY meal stations should not be a part of your plans this year. Risk can be reduced if a host carefully plans out how dinner will be served, namely trying to erase the need for people to get up and walk around during the meal or share plates. If you're hoping to mitigate some of the risks above, now is the time to start planning your Thanksgiving meal. With the help of infectious disease experts, we're recapping the easiest ways to work against COVID-19 while hosting family and friends for Thanksgiving this year. So, some of the riskiest ways to celebrate Thanksgiving this year. We all know and have the family members who love to go shopping the day after Thanksgiving. Y'all love that Black Friday. This is super dangerous this year. Anytime you're cramming in public spaces with people, it's not a good thing right now. Participation in or being part of the crowd at a sporting event or local marathon. Y'all know what we're talking about. Try to avoid organized events of this kind, even if they are held outside, as the crowds associated with these events can largely influence risk overall. Events with updated policies or rules for spectators to stem COVID-19 spread are preferred, but still maintain a moderate risk. Attending a party with a large crowd. This means indoors and outdoors. Keep your Thanksgiving as intimate as possible. Again, you got to see the bright side on this. You do not have to invite your entire family to Thanksgiving right now. Attending large banquets held inside. If you normally eat Thanksgiving with members of an organization or your church, maybe work, try and restructure your event or think about canceling it altogether. Traveling to visit local attractions. While this is included in the moderate risk section of the CDC guidelines, you should refrain from using public transport to visit things like orchards or fall harvest festivals held outside. You can lower risk considerably by planning to stay home for Thanksgiving dinner with only those who live in your house, organizing a virtual dinner, enjoying sporting events via broadcast, and shopping Black Friday sales online, preferably at locally owned businesses. CDC officials also recommend cooking dinner for loved ones and devising a contactless way to deliver the meal to their door. So a few quick questions that y'all had and we found answers to. Should we all be wearing masks? Yes. Yes. At all times. Yes. There's a whole bunch more here for that answer. We're just going to leave it at that. Yes. You should all be wearing masks. If your group is large enough and involves individuals considered to be at high risk for severe COVID-19 complications, Dr. Gohil says you may also wish to serve dinner in waves or rounds. Maybe you can serve the elderly away from the children who have been more mobile or active during the pandemic. Maybe you ask the children to eat on rotation or even have them eat first while the adults have their masks on. Just saying, we got to do it a little bit differently, y'all. We got to do it a little differently. How should you serve your Thanksgiving meal? We know it might go against working to reduce our carbon footprints, but this is the year that you should embrace single-use utensils and disposable dishware. If you can avoid the risk of handling potentially contaminated utensils, glassware, or dishes, do so by using paper plates and eco-friendly disposable silverware if possible. And because banquets or buffets or any family-style meal is largely discouraged by the CDC, hosts should take on the responsibility of serving each guest accordingly. Now, should your guests quarantine? So, you know, your guests who are traveling from out of state, there may already be some rules in place requiring visitors to quarantine upon arrival. For many states, this quarantine period is waived if the visitor receives a COVID-19 test after their arrival, which should only be a priority if the person wishes to spend time in public spaces. You can find a full state-by-state travel restrictions guide online at CNN.com. It's a good link. I checked it out earlier. Guests who are joining your household for the entirety of the holiday season will need to self-isolate when they arrive for at least 2 weeks to ensure that they are not sick. Even those who isolate at home before traveling can't guarantee that they won't be exposed to sick individuals during their travels, especially if they plan to board a plane, hop on a train, or ride a bus. The least risky method of travel for the holidays is driving, Dr. Gohil says, adding that most people can limit the risks presented at gas stations or necessary pit stops. That risk may also depend on whether or not they need to stay at a hotel. So y'all, there go some of these ways that you can help, you know, keep the risk down for your Thanksgiving. You know, we got to do everything that we can, y'all. We got to do everything that we can and just stay vigilant. Stay vigilant with it. So next week I'll have a few more Thanksgiving ideas, but right now we're going to get into one of my favorite segments of the show, Mask Off. So right now, I'm going to bring in someone very special to me, someone incredibly knowledgeable on what is going on right now. I need y'all to really pay attention to this. This woman is a nurse, certified in the medical profession. Also, a coronavirus survivor, went through it herself. I was talking to her a lot in that time, just as to what she was experiencing and what was going on. So, y'all, give it all the way up for Miss Robin Morrow.
Thanks for having me. I'm doing pretty good. I'm glad to have a day off and be home relaxing. Work is really hard, and I get to watch the numbers come up before the stats come out. So work has been increasingly hard, and it's almost nice that we're quarantining because there's not a lot more than I can do between going to work and coming home and being with my family. That's about as much energy as I have these days. I couldn't hear that. Can you say that again?
Oh, see, I'm trying to do too many things over here on the mothership. So, man, firsthand, what is the situation looking like right now? What are you seeing that we should know about, and that people should be up on? What are you experiencing as someone who's on the front lines?
So the most COVID patients that we've had on our floor at one time, I think, is like 28. And I wasn't there when it was that full because that was the spike when a large portion of our staff were sick also. And so our numbers got pretty low, probably, I think, between 6 and 8. And the last time I was working, there were 8 people in the queue trying to get a bed on our floor that we had no more space for them. So I work in the cardiac care unit. So we have cardiac patients and we have COVID patients. And so what happens when our COVID numbers get higher, we try to see if other parts of the hospital can accept our cardiac patients. So then we can take on more COVID patients, or we have to branch out and ask other units in the hospital if they'll start taking COVID patients. So right now we're getting full again. And when we get full, then that means that as we have to upgrade, our ICUs are getting full. And once again, our numbers are creeping up and just keep on going. So the other worrisome part right now is that on top of our coronavirus going up, all of our first flu cases are coming in also. So there's people who have flu and corona together, and there's people who have flu and there's people who have corona. So it's a time of year where the hospital already gets more busy. And so we have another virus causing like even more influx of people right now.
Man, y'all are some real superheroes out here. Like, I hope that like all of us can we all just like take turns shooting some coffee and some donuts and some cake, like a lot of cake, extra cake over to the nurses and the frontline workers, because they're putting themselves at risk, and it's there's so much oh, we got a question here. Did Robin say what hospital she works for?
I work at Sacramento.
So there's no matter how much PPE is going on, y'all wear, I've seen the videos on Instagram of how many layers folks are doing to keep safe, and it's still not a guarantee. You were one of those people, and like you said, a lot of our frontline workers have been getting infected. Can you tell us a little bit about what the experience was, what it feels like to get this thing? Like, I'm talking about like scared straight. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, I need the scared straight version for any of y'all who are watching, who see this, who went out on Halloween to flex your ridiculous Party City costume. I need you to scare them straight. Tell us what it was like.
Okay, so I'm a relatively active person, and I first had my symptoms at work, which made me really lucky because I was able to get a rapid test in the ER. I told my manager immediately. I went to a computer that was away from other people. I cleaned my computer and was like, guys, I don't feel good. This is not good. I'm going away. I knew immediately what it was. I'm surrounded by it all the time. I take care of it. I have a very clear picture of what it is. I run really hot. When you take care of COVID patients, the amount of plastic that I cover myself in, I always sweat in a room. And my first night I had chills and I couldn't warm up. And so I had already, done everyone's vitals, introduced myself, like did the first set of my tasks, and I was cold to my core. And I knew that something wasn't good. I had one little dry cough and I was like, I know what that is. So I got tested and immediately went home. When I go into work, they check our temperature and ask you if you have any new signs or symptoms. I was tired and I was run down, but I'm a night shift nurse in a pandemic. I'm always tired and run down. And so I got my test back. The next day, I quarantined from my husband and my children. I just went into my room and everybody kind of like circled the house around me. And when I started my shift, I didn't have a temperature. And by the time I went to the emergency room, my temperature was 102. And so after that, I went back and forth trying to use ibuprofen or Tylenol to, good night, babe. My kiddo's going to sleep. Using Tylenol or ibuprofen and trying to get my fever down. And so I would have these like intense sweats and body aches and was tired and sleeping most of the day. And the other funny thing that happened is I tried to get tested earlier in the week and my physician told me no. That right now, if you can't get tested for COVID unless you have symptoms, unless you're going to surgery or you're going on a special, a trip that you're trying to get tested for. There's different ways that you can go through it. But at the time, my primary care provider wouldn't give me a test because I didn't have symptoms. So I sent her the message right after my test became positive and said, ha, ha, ha. That test wouldn't have been super helpful anyways, because here I am and I'm positive.
Wow.
And so she asked about my oxygen saturation, which is in the hospital, how we decide how much oxygen you need, and it shows you kind of how sick you're getting. A normal healthy person, we want their oxygen saturation above 95. And in COVID, your oxygen saturation can crash pretty quickly, and that's when people get really short of breath and can lead to more emergencies. So my oxygen saturation was hanging out at about 93. So it was below where a normal healthy person would be. I knew I had COVID, and I knew that I don't want to go to the hospital. That I want to do what I can to try to take care of myself at home and not go. So my doctor called me and I was asleep and had several people call that says, no, you know that saturation isn't healthy and you should go to get checked out. But I was so tired. I decided that I wanted to sleep more than I wanted to go to the hospital. And I fell asleep and woke up and took my temperature again, and it was 103. And said, I think that's the time.
Yeah.
So my husband drove me to the hospital. And when I first got there, I thought that I was going to be admitted because my heart rate was in the 130s. My temperature was 103. I'm really struggling to breathe, so I'm breathing really quickly. And it looked really clearly like I was going to be admitted. And I'm really lucky that I work at the hospital and that they treat me better than the normal public. So I got into the back and seen in a much timelier manner than the normal public would have. And so I got IV Tylenol and I got fluids and I got things to help bring my temperature down. And as my temperature got a little lower, my heart rate got a little lower, and they gave me some oxygen and kind of tipped me up that I didn't have to be admitted. But I did get a CT scan and see that I had bilateral pneumonia in each sides of my lungs. So I had this really intense burning and aching in my lungs. I didn't ever have a really strong cough, but it hurt to breathe. It burned and it hurt. And I laid in bed and I slept. And I think from the first week and a half of my quarantine, it wasn't that bad until my couple of my last days. I had finished my course of antibiotics for my pneumonia and I started to feel better. And so I was awake a little bit more. And at that point, the quarantine felt more painful than the physical illness, not being able to hold my husband and see my kids. And that was really rough. So for me, as we talk about guidelines and things opening up, as people talk about the choices that they make and the risks that they're willing to take, I know that most of that comes from this loneliness, and the loneliness that we're having as a general society is not as brutal as the people who physically get sick and have to quarantine 100%. So it's hard to physically have it and see other people making these interactions that you're like, man, if you could make a couple, variations to your life right now, you could protect this from people you love and to stop you from getting this. It hurt. I'm still fatigued. So when people ask me how I'm doing now, that fatigue that I felt so strongly while my virus was active and replicating was brutal, but I haven't gotten better. I still feel that I'm probably at like 75%. I went for a hike the other day with my husband and I was huffing and puffing up a hill and he was like, "Are you okay?" And I said, "No, I'm always tired. Like I have a fatigue right now that I've never known, that there's not much that I can do."
Yeah, just to clarify, as someone who's known Robin for a long time, Robin don't get fatigued. Robin used to live in a tree, y'all. You know what I'm saying? Like, so this is not it's not a normal state of being, you know what I mean, to have this kind of fatigue. And that's a lot of the stories that I'm hearing are, from folks who make it through to the other side are like, yo, I'm still not back to 100%, folks feeling like they didn't get back to 100%. Like, man, any advice for folks like on the medical side? We've all heard, wash your hands, y'all. Like, wash your hands, wear your masks. Anything else that we should be watching out for, or advice that we should be following to bring this down as a society, as a community?
Just the distance. I know that it sucks, but that's really all we have right now. Like, there's some information coming out that Pfizer has this vaccine, but we all know that everybody's not going to get it. We don't know how beneficial it is. There's no real data out on it yet, just that there's news briefs, but there's not like any science behind it to tell us what the trials have been like and what it looks like scientifically. You can always get your flu vaccine. Everybody has different trains of thought of how they feel about it, but this year is supposed to be a particularly hard flu year. And with people, there's been concurrent COVID flu cases at this time, but just trying to lower your flu cases so that you're not needing to go into the medical system, and the less you need the hospital for, the better. But there's times that you're still supposed to go. I think right now we have a lot of really sick patients, and some of those people have not taken their medication for months because they needed to have a doctor's visit to get a new prescription. And so, like, outside of COVID, if you have other stuff going on and you're not staying on top of it because you're trying to stay out of the hospital, like, people are doing phone interviews right now. Like, you need one of your prescriptions filled, your doctor would be happy to see you on a phone visit where you don't have to stay. And so if you can treat the conditions that you already know that you have, then you will stay out of the hospital and possibly not get COVID while you're there, or the flu when you're there, or any of the other things that we can give you in the hospital. So just trying to do your best to take care of yourself. But it's always scary when we have a holiday and there's pandemics. The data that we're getting right now about our red tier, that was the week before Halloween. And so the most common transmission dates right now that we're seeing is 5 to 7 days. So even the data that we're going to get next week isn't even going to be the exposure from Halloween. So if we have to have Halloween and then 5 to 7 days after that, then after that is when symptoms can start coming. And how often do people go to the hospital on their very first symptoms? So it takes a trickling effect. So we catch data, several weeks in advance from where it's coming out. So it's looking like Halloween isn't going to make our counts looking really good, and people are lonely and going to want to get together with their families, and it's going to happen with Thanksgiving again too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think one of the things you said, I know for me, so anyone who knows me knows that I used to smoke like a chimney, and I just hit 4 months with no cigarettes, no smoke of any kind. Because of that, like, taking care of the immune system, like, I realized, like, as much as it helps the stress of all of this, it's not helping the immune system. And then, just really thinking about the precautions that you take. How are you eating? How are you boosting your immune system? As far as I'm gonna give a cheap plug to Empress Ready, because I'll be drinking their fire cider
Yeah.
every day, just trying to make sure that immune system is boosted up. And I mean, I got some thoughts on the fact that a bunch of people need to like sit with themselves, and yeah, like loneliness sucks, but like that we got some heart work to do, y'all. That we
Yeah.
can't sit with ourselves and be quiet, you know what I mean, and be still. And I feel like that's almost one of the blessings in this is like the opportunity and the reason to like sit still and do your self work at this time. I got a couple folks lighting up the comments right now. Number one, I don't know if you saw Sean Burner came through showing some love. We love you too, Sean.
Yeah.
And then Barbara said, "Are hospitals accepting homemade gifts of treats?" Nope. No homemade gifts.
Anything just infection control. I know that people have like donated a bunch of these like teas or drinks that are already made. We're not even supposed to like split up a pizza. So like something that is packaged and sealed, and we talked about it earlier, like, you know, our carbon footprint and about how bad this has been for the environment, but we can't accept any of that. Like everything has to be for one person to do in their own time and their own little sphere. Everything has to be bubbled.
So if you got trick or treat candy left, shoot it over to the hospital. So Marie asked, do people ask you if you have underlying conditions? Like, because you didn't really have any underlying conditions.
I have some exercise induced asthma if I'm working real hard, but on a general basis, I don't get seasonal allergies, no diabetes, no heart conditions. There's nothing.
And she's a superhero, y'all. And she's a superhero, like by day, every day. So yeah, that's
I have some coworkers. So we have a new coworker who is admitted on our floor. And I wasn't her nurse, but went into the room to be like, this happened to me, you know, and it felt really lonely. Like I remember at first not wanting to talk about it and feeling really self-conscious that like, man, like I didn't want to get this, and feeling so frustrated because it's true. I have an N95 mask. I have a face shield. I have this thing, but I have all this stuff I put on and all this stuff that I put off. And the N95s that we had when I got sick aren't droplet resistant. So if there's any moisture that comes from you out or out in, they are no longer effective. They're the cheap ones that everybody can get at Home Depot. Like all of our supplies got so low. And so if you get anything wet onto your mask, it is no longer effective. And your rate of infection goes up the longer that you're in a room. So just depending on the amount of care that you have to give a patient depends on your exposure. And so I think the other thing is there's a lot of lonely people admitted into the hospital when they have this, and they're like, you're ignoring me. And it's hard for me as a nurse because the part that works so well for me is the like touching people's soul and being like, no, I see you, I'm here for you. But when you have COVID, you're actively putting me at risk. And so the longer that I spend in the room with you, trying to chat with you and humanize you in this really dehumanizing situation, then I put myself at risk and I put my family at risk. And like, it's not good for any of us.
Right. We just got some general outpourings of love here for you. Ruben saying we appreciate you. Marie saying thank you for your story and all you do to help us. Let's shift gears a little bit because you know who I am as well. We about getting into it and getting into the weight and the heaviness of it, but we not about leaving the weight on folks. You know what I mean? We like to bring it back to joy. Yeah. So where are you finding your joy these days?
This summer we took the kids on a bunch of camping trips, and I think after the third one they're like, can we do something other than camping? And we're like, but kids, you want to leave the house? You want to do something? You got to do something with us, somewhere that doesn't interact with other people. And so we took a bunch of camping trips. We got these inflatable kayaks, so we could put the kayaks in the car and go down and go out on the water, and that was really cool. And yesterday, my husband and I went on a date out to Harbin Hot Springs. I don't know if any of y'all have been there, but it's this really magical place in Lake County with all of these natural hot springs. And you have to register and get a time slot because they control how many people they let in. And you wear masks kind of everywhere around. The masks inside the tubs are like optional themselves, but everywhere else, like once you get out, you have to make sure that there's face coverings and there's more than 6 feet distance. And it's just like relaxing and chill. And it's been our place that's like, oh, I want to get away for just a day. And it feels like such a needed break and so different. So I'm still floating around a little after having another nice little Harbin day.
Man, it's important. That's how we keep the spirits up. You know, we all got to find those ways. I got to get out to the beach for the first time like 2 weeks ago. Which was amazing to be able to just sit in nature. And, you know, I got the special edition immune system, so I'll be extra hard on folks. I keep like some spray. And like if anyone gets within like 25 feet of me, I just like let off a little mist. I'm like a skunk, you know what I'm saying? Like, it looks like we might have another question here.
Oh, there I am. Hey, hi there.
Hey, Zeus.
Hi. It's question time with Zeus T. Fitzgerald. I was wondering, it's a really important question. What's your favorite food?
Okay, my first go-to answer that comes in my head when you say that is sushi.
I'm sorry, that's incorrect.
No, it is correct.
It's fresh bugs, like a good cockroach.
You like it fresh, not fried?
No.
You don't fry it up?
Oh my god! I've never had a fried cockroach. Andrew,
who's mine?
Yeah, date night. Okay, I'm coming over to your house.
Date night, done and done.
I'm coming over. I'm bringing like all 20 of my friends. We're all gonna party together at a big mosh pit. Wait.
Nope.
No, that's a bad idea. Okay, fair. Yeah.
No more dumb ideas, Zeus.
No more. Well, I don't know if I can do that, but I'll try.
You got a quarantine after this little trip that you took on your little lovecation that you on.
I'll say, can I bring on my friend Andy S really quick? He's got some questions to ask.
Yeah.
Hold on. I'll just.
Hi there. Just wanted to say thank you for your work, first of all. Like what you do in the hospital and all the nurses who might be watching. My face is not in view, but my I guess question from the time that you first had your symptom, not to bring it back to this, but from the time you had your first symptom to your fever, about how long was it, do you think?
Okay, so the thing that's hazy for me is fatigue. Because I'm as a night shift nurse, I'm always fatigued. So I can't use that as one of my symptoms. So the first symptom that I call, like, I had chills and a dry cough, and my fever was like simultaneously.
Gotcha.
So I started my shift and had a normal temperature. Like, you can't walk into a hospital without getting your temperature taken. And my temperature was normal. And when I felt kind of chilled, I got one of our cheap thermometers and tried it, and it told me it was 98. But I think those cheap thermometers always tell you that it's 98.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until I went to the ED and they used like a nicer thermometer on me that I learned that I was febrile. But it was pretty much immediate for me. And after I had my first symptoms, I started to feel like shit really quickly. Like, I got really sick really quick. My exposure was on a Monday, and my first symptom was like a Friday night, Saturday morning.
Oh, wow. Holy cow.
So it's also interesting to be able to like do the math of the days that I was working and what I was doing to be able to really clearly be like, this is the window that I got it.
Yeah.
And then I felt really sick afterwards. And one of the things that felt really isolating for me is that most of the people that got sick at my work, they didn't get really sick. They had a headache or they felt a little tired, but they didn't feel really sick. So most people at my work were out for like, you know, you have to be out, you have to quarantine for 10 days after your positive test. And I was out for almost 8 weeks.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
there's a lot of people who were out for 2 weeks to like maintain those hours and then went back to work in their normal schedule. And I was out for close to 8 weeks. And then I went back on a modified schedule and only worked for because I worked 12-hour shifts. A full-time week is 3 days for me. And I worked 2 days for like a month because my fatigue was just still so bad.
Wow. Well, yeah, thank you for answering that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Get out of here, David. What the hell are you doing? No, sorry. This is Silly Time with Zeus T. Fitzgerald. And my next pressing question is, what's your favorite color?
Ooh, my favorite color is probably purple.
Purple.
Yeah.
I could go with it. That's like half of my favorite color.
Okay.
If you're going to tell my favorite color, blue.
Blue like you?
Yeah. I'm my favorite color.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Anyways, that's all I had. Thanks for answering my extremely important questions.
Zeus, we love you.
I love you too. You get out of here. Nom, 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 nom.
I can't hear you.
Oh,
there you go.
That's me. I think that wraps it up. Unless you got anything else you want to give to the people, any last words, any last message?
That I know that you guys are lonely, and no one wanted this to happen, but it is happening, and we're all part of making it better or making it worse. So you get to decide which part of that you want to be on. Take care of yourself and take care of the people that are around you, because we all matter.
Y'all, give it all the way up for Robin Morrow. Y'all, that has been Masked Up. We are live every Monday night at 8:08, and we're gonna continue monitoring all of these numbers and trying to just get the message out there. Again, we want to give a special shout out to the Latino Center of Art and Culture here in Sacramento, and also the Office of Art and Culture here in Sacramento for supporting this broadcast and helping us get this information out. I want to shout out everyone who shared this and it has reached out with information, everybody that contributes to it, all the guests, especially Zeus T. Fitzgerald, and the T stands for the. Y'all, that wraps up another night. So we're going to kick it to our homegirl, Cardi B, because some of y'all forgot how to wash your hands.